Danny Kanell and Bryant McFadden.
Good-looking crew. Best-looking pregame show around.
Damien Harris will be there as well, and our host, Emily Proud, here on CBS Sports HQ, beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for that 3:30 Eastern Time kick. We want to welcome the whole team here. Danny, what do you think those vibes are going to be like coming off like two of the craziest seasons FSU has had lately?
I think the vibes are going to be nervous. I sense a lot of nerves from Florida State fans having no idea what to expect. They're still shell-shocked from what happened last season, losing to Duke for the first time in school history, losing to Memphis and Boston College at home. Just 2 wins on the season, one of the worst seasons for Florida State historically. But I do think there's some optimism. 2 years ago, you mentioned it, Hassel, they went to the transfer portal, got a lot of contributors to help them step up and run the table through the regular season. They're hoping for that kind of turnaround in Tallahassee this time around.
Is somebody else supposed to be going here?
Sure.
Are
Why
we
not?
supposed to be
Why not?
responding? I was about to say, I don't know if me and B-Mac got cut out. I got left out of the party. But no, listen, I'm gonna take the reins here. I would agree with a lot of things that Danny said about the Alabama program. You talk about fans who are concerned coming off their first season, not making the college football playoffs, the hangover effect, if you will, of going from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer. And not saying Kalen DeBoer isn't a great football coach, because he is, and he is going to turn the program around. But again, when you go from the greatest to somebody else and then the season reflects that, there's a lot of nerves and there's a lot of concern. Ty Simpson named the starting quarterback. Some people are concerned. Some people are excited. We're going to see how he fares once he gets out on the field. And then another part of the offense, Jam Miller going down with a collarbone injury. So there's just a lot of things about this Alabama team, this program, again, to be excited about and to look forward to. But there is still a little bit of that hangover, and I expect a little bit of nerves going into this game as well.
Well, for me, that's the thing I love about week one play in college football. It's the week of unknowns. You know, fan bases are trying to figure things out. They're optimistic. They're excited. The same can be said for coaches, along with knowing the personnel, because to your point, Damien, both teams will be showcasing new quarterbacks. So what I'm looking to see is offensively, which staff will have the best game plan in place to establish a rhythm that can flow for 4 quarters, because that's very, very important, especially in this type of ball game where you talk about two historical good football programs. A lot of questions are there, concerns are there. Which offense can get rolling with their new quarterback in terms of rhythm and chemistry, because that could jumpstart the momentum that is needed for whatever team comes out on top at the end of the day.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that point, y'all, when I say y'all, I'm talking to you and B-Mac. You guys are 13.5-point dogs in this matchup. B-Mac, what would this do for Florida State and the momentum that you talked about for this season for the Seminoles, if they can win or even just cover that and keep it competitive?
Oh, moral victories here from Jack.
I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice to my Seminole rivals here.
During this segment, we will need you to throw your Florida Gators bias out of the way.
I don't think I can do it. No can do, my friend.
Try to be the point guard in this segment, okay? Because that was a stray you just shot us with in terms of covering the spread. It's not about covering the spread. We want to win the ball game outright. But to answer your question, what this would do for Florida State, this would get them into that conversation of potentially a playoff caliber team, because of all the concerns that have been associated with Alabama because of the letdowns from a year ago. Most feel like they're a playoff caliber team. Most feel like they're one of the best teams in the SEC. If Florida State can beat them on a national stage, yes, in terms of ACC foes that have playoff implications, you would have to throw Florida State's name into that conversation just based on the ACC limelight alone. Because to your point, they're 13.5-point underdogs. And I think that's fair. They only won 2 ball games. Danny just talked about some of the bad letdowns we saw from them a year ago, losing to Memphis, Boston College, Duke. That's deserving. But if they can outright win this ball game, when you look at the ACC landscape, yes, you have to throw their name in there with the Clemsons of the world and the Miamis of the world as being potential playoff suitors.
Since we did the what if with an FSU guy, let's do a what if with the Bama guy. Damien, 2-time national champ there. What if Florida State wins this and Kalen DeBoer starts off his tenure there 9-5?
Well, it'll be nothing but an uphill road. And I would say not just to make the college football playoffs, not just to have a successful season, but in order for Kalen DeBoer to get his and keep his name off of the hot seat. Because, listen, this is a program, this is a fan base where the history and the tradition, more recently than, the entire landscape of college football, is different than anywhere else. And the fans have gotten a sense of being spoiled with riches because, let's just be honest, we've won a lot in the past 20 years. So going into this year, there's already a huge magnifying glass on Kalen DeBoer. Because if you guys remember, there was a time last season when Alabama beat Georgia. We thought, okay, this Alabama team might win a national championship. They might see Georgia again in the college football playoff or in the SEC championship, but they got a pretty good shot. And then you finish off the season losing to Oklahoma in an embarrassing fashion, losing to Michigan in the bowl game when people like myself were trying to lobby that Alabama should have been the 12th team in the playoffs. So there's already a very, very big microscope on this program in terms of returning to the level of success and dominance, but also there's a lot of eyes on Kalen DeBoer. And I'm not saying from all of college football, I'm just talking about from the fans themselves in Tuscaloosa, to where if you start out this season losing to Florida State, to Thomas Castellanos, who has basically called you out all offseason, and then you didn't go out there and handle the disrespect properly, that's not going to be a good look for Kalen DeBoer and this Alabama football team.
Yeah, Damien, I totally agree. If they lose to Florida State, it's panic meters off the charts. Call lines are lit up calling for Kalen DeBoer to be fired. The fan base is going to be fractured. All of a sudden there's going to be a split division between those fans. Is Kalen DeBoer the guy or not? I think there's way more at stake for Kalen DeBoer and that Alabama team going into this one. Way more for Florida State to win if they do happen to win this game. All of a sudden, as BMAC said, they're considered a national title contender, and Alabama would be looked at in a trash heap if they did lose this game. So I think there's way more at stake for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer.
All right, I know you guys don't think I can put aside my Gator bias, but I can. Billy Napier coming out and saying that DJ Lagway is a 100% participant in practice ahead of the season opener against LIU. It seems like there's a new injury that is popping up for DJ Lagway all off season. I don't feel great about it. Do you actually think he's 100%? Do you think he's fine, or is that just something that Napier is saying?
He better be. I mean, I would hope so. By now, he missed a lot of the spring with the shoulder. He missed some of training camp with the calf. He's missed throughout his entire career. He's missed significant time at other portions of his career. I just worry that he's an injury-prone player, and that happens sometimes. Some guys' bodies can't handle it. Some guys need to be 100% players where you only play if you feel 100%. Unfortunately, reality is no matter what level, especially in the SEC, you're going to have to play a lot of times at 70, 80%. You're going to get dinged, you're going to get nicked, and you're going to have bruises that are painful, and they're pain in the neck to try to play through. That's what I'm going to keep an eye on, is not for the LIU game, but the course of a 12-game season where it's a grind, and Florida has one of the tougher schedules in the country. How does he endure throughout the physicality of that schedule is my bigger question mark. I think he's 100% now, but just something to keep an eye on with somebody who's shown up that much on an injury report.
Danny's been banned from SEC Media Days, but Damien, I know you were there and you saw DJ Lagway. What did he look like? What did he have to say? What do you think of this upcoming season?
Well, the kid looks good. And I mean, you can tell he's a guy that he holds his own name in the University of Florida. He acts in a way where he demands respect for both. He's a well-spoken kid. He talked about some of the things he dealt with last year and how he thought whenever he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the country, and he can take Florida to a place that they haven't been in a very long time. And listen, when we talk about DJ Lagway, we cannot forget to mention that he's part of the reason why Billy Napier is still the head coach at Florida. I understand that they finished the season strong. I understand he maintained control of the locker room, but at the end of the day, a lot of these people who make decisions in Gainesville on who's going to be the coach, who's going to do this, they looked and they said, well, we are able to maintain DJ Lagway. And if we combine that with what Billy Napier did at the end of the season, then we should be okay this year, regardless of our schedule. Well, if you want to go back to the conversation that we were just having with Danny about him being an injury-prone player, this is also a guy that can lose Billy Napier his job, because if he does not sustain, or if he does not maintain his level of health, if he can't go out the entire season with the teams they're going to be facing, if this starts to be a downward slope, if they start to lose some games that going into this year, Florida and Billy Napier thought they were going to win, then we might still have the same conversation at the end of the season. But wishing him a healthy year, because obviously he is a great football player. We saw that in spurts last year. He's a well-spoken young man. He's trying to do what a lot of us are trying to do, get paid, feed our families, and do our jobs.
And that's, for me, guys, when you look at this upcoming ball game for Florida, they could win without DJ Lagway, right? And he hadn't done anything leading up to today, this week. He's been on the shelf the entire time. We're talking about a calf strain. And Damien, you're right. All their success as a team is on the shoulders of DJ Lagway. When you look at their schedule, if they do not have a healthy DJ Lagway in place, they will struggle. He really brought energy to their season with his play a year ago. We know he's overly talented. We know he's a big thrower of the football. But health is a concern, and that's why I say I would probably sit him out one more week or so just to make sure he's healthy. Because if you look at the landscape of sports, most recently over the last few months, Tyrese Halliburton, remember he had like a calf strain, right? Sat down, got back out there, and then what happened? We've seen these calf strains transition to other things. Damian Lillard, I know I'm talking a different sport, but we're talking similar like injuries based on those guys that I mentioned. So if I'm Florida, listen, make sure he is ready to go. And Danny, you know how it is as a quarterback. You can get through college practices without moving full speed and still be able to showcase, oh, I'm ready to go. You can kind of scale it back a little bit and still look like you're good. No, put him through a full, thorough workout for multiple days so you can see what the next day holds in terms of this injury. Because, Jacqueline, you're a Florida fan. You love Florida. If you have no DJ Lagway, you're turning the TV off. You're not watching any games because the hopes that you guys have coming into the season will be flatlined.
He's still mad about your suggestion that covering the spread would be a move.
And you know what, B-Mac, when you're making the injury parallels or like hypotheticals with Tyrese Halliburton and Damian Lillard, the soul left my body just thinking about it because, we got LSU, at LSU, by the way, at Miami, so we need DJ Lagway.
Who's that week one against, though? Who you guys play week one?
LIU.
Oh, yeah, LIU, that powerhouse. That's a gauntlet schedule.
Yeah, they don't need DJ Lagway week one. They don't need him.
You cannot argue the schedule is not tough. Get out of here.
Line's about 30 in this game.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about Coach Prime because the Buffs, they open up the schedule on Friday. They are home underdogs against Georgia Tech, and they have yet to name a starting quarterback. So, DK, they're looking for some success here. It's a different roster, a lot of change. But how do you feel about them starting off? We're waiting to the last minute to name a starting quarterback there.
This one concerns me a little bit, but I also wonder if there's some gamesmanship. I mean, remember at the Big 12 Media Days, he brought both quarterbacks. Deion did. He brought Caden Salter and Julian Lewis, the freshman, in there. And he said, I don't know. I still don't think they've seen it emerge. And deciding a quarterback based off of practice where you're not full speed half the time, where you don't have the crowd out there, the defense kind of scripted plays, you know what's coming, it can be very difficult to try to determine who's going to be your starter. I would expect both of them to play against Georgia Tech. I think that's the one thing that's unclear. Caden Salter brings a running dimension. He brings experience. I thought they would lean on him a little bit more early in the season rather than going to the superstar freshman and Julian Lewis. But I would expect both of them potentially to play against Georgia Tech while they kind of figure out who comes to the forefront of that quarterback race.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think both players will play. And this is a really nice, sneaky test for Coach Prime and his entire staff. Because what we witnessed with them over the last 2 seasons, they had NFL prospects at prominent positions on their team that played as such with Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and you look at some of the other guys that are now in the National Football League. They don't have that same luxury, especially at the most important position. So I think that will be an opportunity for them to kind of still feel this thing out. Maybe lean with Salter, who's the more experienced player to start the game, and then bring in Juju, who looks to be the part as well based on everything I've heard coming from Colorado. But everyone is talking about Colorado. No one is talking about Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a well-coached team, and Haynes King might be one of the more underrated quarterbacks in college football, and just being a football player that happens to play the quarterback position. I think Georgia Tech is going to be a very, very good team this year. That's why I feel like this is a really, really good, sneaky test for Colorado, because if they come out and somehow win this ball game, now you change your entire mindset on who they could be as a ball club, especially in Big 12 play. And the same can be said for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech take care of their business easily. Then I think you need to start putting some more respect on Georgia Tech name, because I really believe this is a really, really good team with a good quarterback.
Man, this Colorado talking my boy B-Mac all fired up over there. Listen, I'm going to piggyback off of both of those guys, and I'll say this. Regardless of who the quarterback is going to be, what Deion Primetime Sanders has to identify is what are the same problems that we dealt with, like Bryant said, whenever we had NFL caliber players at quarterback position, at the wide receiver position, well, what were those problems? We couldn't protect our quarterback. We couldn't run the ball to save our lives, and we almost couldn't stop a nosebleed. Now, defensively, they were better last year than they were the season before. But at the end of the day, all I want to say is, regardless of if it's Juju, if it's Caden, at the end of the day, there are still other things that this Colorado team has to improve on from a fundamental standpoint. And yes, week 1 is going to be a slobber knocker. Georgia Tech, Brent Key, Haynes King, they're coming to play. They're coming to take over the ACC this year. Not to mention the Big 12 is full of parity, but it's also full of really good teams. Colorado has a tough schedule ahead. Will they fix those fundamental problems? Will they kick off the season on the right note against Georgia Tech? To be determined.
Yeah, I love these two conferences going head-to-head, too, and a lot of games involving ACC and Big 12 teams where they're trying to make a statement this year and show the playoff committee that their conference is worthy of multiple bids. Can't wait to kick it off week 1 with our coverage live from Doak at FSU. Bama and Florida State, couple FSU alums, a Bama alum, and a Tennessee alum. Emily Proud trying to play peacemaker out there. Coverage beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time.